Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to 2P Press Start. I'm your host, GiantKiller, and today we're bringing you Episode 5 of our Hearthstone Curse of Naxxramas Preview. Today, in the long-awaited and much-requested Episode 5, we're going to be discussing some Naxxramas cards. First, we'll talk about the last two class cards to be revealed, the Priest's Dark Cultist and the Hunter's Webspinner. We've also got wind of some unconfirmed, but truly awesome, if true, new Naxxramas Legendary card rumors based on some leaked Naxxramas photographs. These are Feugen, Stalagg, and KelThuzad. Then, next time in Episode 6, we're going to take a look at some additional Naxxramas details and information straight from Blizzard. Then in Episode 7, well, hopefully there won't need to be an Episode 7, because Blizzard's maintaining that Naxxramas will be coming out later this month in July. In which case, we're going to be switching gears and bringing you a series I'm tentatively titling GK Does Naxxramas, where you can follow my zany antics, point out my inevitable misplays, and watch as I struggle my way through the new adventure in search of glory and new cards. Bring popcorn. But for now, let's get to the cards. First up is the Priest class card, the Dark Cultist. This guy's a beefy 3/4 for 3 mana with a fantastic death rattle that gives a friendly minion plus 3 health. The obviously great thing about this card is its incredible stats for the cost, meaning it's still going to be a great value for you even if the death rattle doesn't do a thing for you, which usually it won't, because if your opponent has anything to say about it, he's almost certainly going to kill off your other minions first so the Cultist has nobody left to buff. But if you manage to have another minion in play when the Cultist dies, this guy becomes an amazing value, giving your board a total of 3 attack and 7 health for just 3 mana, which is ridiculous. I think this card will fit incredibly well into a sort of early to mid-game Priest-type deck that focuses on board control through smart trading and healing with high value and high toughness minions. But a case could be made for including this guy in just about every Priest deck, just because of how amazingly well his stats stack up against most other 2 and 3 drops. Next up is the Hunter class card, the Webspinner. This friendly-looking little bug has an underwhelming stat line at 1/1 for 1 mana, but a potentially amazing death rattle effect. When this little bug gets squashed, you could get any collectible beast card in your hand, meaning any beast that's a card unto itself, as opposed to just a token that could appear as a result of another spell or effect. This means you can get any beast ranging from another Webspinner up to, well, the beast. You can get something craptastic like a young Dragonhawk, or a complete game changer like a Savannah Highmane or a Stampeding Kodo. One thing to keep in mind is it's not limited to the beast cards you have in your deck, so you won't be able to stack the deck in your favor by including only good beasts. Now, because of its draw effect, some have compared it to a Loot Hoarder or Blood Mage Thalnos, but that's not exactly the case because it isn't really drawing a card from your deck, so it doesn't serve quite the same value in terms of thinning out your deck and getting you to your better cards faster. But it's still a body that doesn't really cost you a card, and even better, it's a beast body, and so is whatever you're going to draw when it dies. So I can see the Webspinner seeing some play as another cheap enabler for a kill command, a cheap draw with a Buzzard, a cheap buff target for a Houndmaster, and that sort of thing. Next up are the rumored new Legendary cards in Naxxramas. These are of course completely unconfirmed, and the screenshots of these guys were a bit dodgy, but we put together some mock-ups of the cards using that fantastic Hearthstone card generator we found over at achievementgen.com. So this way we can talk about them just the same. And, just to be unflinchingly clear on this, these are just rumors and very well may not show up in the actual game, so take everything you're about to hear with a big grain of salt. First we're going to be talking about the pair of ghouls, Feugen and Stalagg. They're rumored to be unlocked together as a set, so we'll talk about them together. Feugen and Stalagg are both legendaries, they both cost 5 mana. Feugen has a 4/7 stat line and a death rattle effect that reads, if Stalagg also died this game, summon Thaddeus. Now Stalagg is a 7/4 for 5 mana, and his death rattle says, if Feugen also died this game, summon Thaddeus. Well, first of all, before we get to the death rattle, let's take a look at the stats. Now 4/7 for 5 mana is significantly better than 7/4 for 5 mana in my opinion. But they've both got 11 total stat points for 5 mana, which is pretty solid. But of course what makes these guys really interesting is that cumulative death rattle mechanic. It's the first of its kind in Hearthstone. If either one of them dies, and the other one has previously died at some point during the game, you get yourself a Thaddeus minion. But, of course, this begs a couple of questions. First and foremost, what is Thaddeus going to be like? We've had no reveal of Thaddeus so far, but given the hoops you're going to have to jump through to get him, which includes drawing, playing, and killing off both of these one-of minions, not to mention the Warcraft lore surrounding Thaddeus, I think it's pretty fair to say we can expect Thaddeus to be something big and nasty. Another question this language raises is this: does it count both players' minions? If I kill my opponent's Stalagg with my Feugen, they've both died. Do we both summon a Thaddeus? After all, it doesn't say if your Stalagg also died this game, but chances are it's probably limited to just yours. The real question is, are these guys' stat lines good enough to justify including them in the deck on the off chance that you're going to draw both of them in time to get a Thaddeus out in time for him to make a difference? I'd say definitely yes for the 4/7 Feugen, but maybe not so much for the 7/4 Stalagg. Time will tell. And then there's Kel'Thuzad. Kel'Thuzad is another legendary, and he costs 8 mana. He's a 6/8 minion, and he reads, at the end of the turn, summon all friendly minions that died this turn. Now, clearly his stats are a little bit underwhelming for 8 mana, which means the developers assigned a lot of this guy's budget to his ability, which is both incredibly powerful and incredibly situational. Now, as long as this guy's alive, all of your other minions who die come back to life at the end of the turn, which means you can make some really abusive trades, you can turn your charge minions into reusable removal, and you can get ridiculous repeat value out of your Death Rattle minions. Now, the problem with all that is, he's slow as hell, and he's downright underpowered if he's the only minion on your board. Kel'Thuzad, for those reasons, strikes me as kind of a win-more card, because you've already got a board full of minions to take advantage of Kel'Thuzad's amazing ability, you're probably already winning. So, I'm not a huge fan of this card, but I can certainly see its potential to do some just incredibly overwhelming plays in the right situation. And that's all the revealed and rumored Naxxramas cards we've been able to lay eyes on so far. And so that about wraps it up for episode number 5. Next time, in episode 6, we're going to talk a bit about the now official pricing structure for Naxxramas and a very significant change/fix to the Death Rattle mechanics. We'll also talk about the recently announced Heroic mode with a new reward and the official word on how we'll be unlocking the gold versions of these Naxxramas cards. So stay tuned. Thanks so much for watching episode 5 of our Curse of Naxxramas Preview. Please let us know what you think of the new cards in the comments below, including the rumored cards you may or may not believe exist. We'd love to get your feedback on the series, and be sure and weigh in with what kind of deck you'd like to see me use in GK Does Naxxramas. Right now I'm leaning toward a Thief Priest deck to steal and abuse whatever broken cards Naxxramas throws at me. And as always, if you like our shows and want to help 2P Press Start grow, please hit that subscribe button to become a part of the always growing and always awesome 2P Press Start family. And we'll keep bringing you more great Hearthstone content right here on 2P Press Start.